My boss was cheating his wife with a dude. It started with a phone call I wasn't supposed to hear. I work as a personal assistant at a mid-sized tech company in Chicago. My boss, Jeremy Faulkner, is one of those startup prodigies who made it big young. Sharp suits, icy blue eyes, married to a beautiful woman named Elise, drives a matte black Tesla. He's always been intense, obsessive, but fair. In private, painfully so, he rarely lets anyone into his personal life, not even for office parties. One evening, he left his office in a rush and forgot his work phone on the desk. It kept buzzing. I figured it was urgent, maybe something with a vendor or investor. So I picked it up, planning to just answer and redirect. But the name on the screen stopped me cold. Evan Redhart. I hesitated, then answered. What I heard was a man's voice, low and intimate. I can still taste you. I'm sore from last night. You always do that to me, baby. Text me when she's asleep. I didn't say a word. I just let the silence stretch. Jeremy? The voice asked, suddenly unsure. I hung up. My heart was pounding so hard I could hear in my ears. I stared at the phone like it might explode. I knew Jeremy had secrets. High-profile people always do. But this was different. This wasn't about money or company politics. This was personal, and it was definitely not a conversation meant for me. For the next few days, I walked around the office in a haze. Every time Jeremy walked past me, all I could see was that name on the screen, Evan Redhart. All I could hear was that voice whispering things no one else in this building would ever believe. It didn't make sense. He was the picture-perfect CEO, clean-cut, sharp-jawed, married to Elise, who sometimes came by with their little boy, Liam, all blonde curls and shy smiles. But now all of that looked fake, rehearsed. I told myself to stay out of it. It wasn't my business. And yet, I couldn't stop noticing things. Jeremy started showing up late. His tie was always loosened. His shirt collar sometimes buttoned wrong. One morning, I noticed a faint bruise on his collarbone. I shouldn't have looked, but I did. And I knew. Then came the slip. We were prepping for a quarterly investor call, and I was setting up in the conference room. Jeremy walked in, half distracted, scrolling through something on his personal phone. He didn't notice I was there until I cleared my throat. He jumped, screen still lit in his hand. I caught just a glimpse, not enough to see clearly, but enough to know it was a picture. A selfie, shirtless, someone else's. The background didn't look like a hotel or a house. It looked like our office bathroom. I'd recognize that ugly green tile anywhere. "Oh, you startled me," he said too quickly, snapping his phone down. "Sorry," I replied, pretending not to notice. But inside, my stomach flipped. That evening, after everyone else left, I stayed behind. I had the access codes to every floor. I took the elevator down to the underground garage. Jeremy's Tesla was still parked. I checked the timestamp, 10:13 p.m. He hadn't left yet. I moved quietly back upstairs, past the dark reception area, past the marketing floor. The light in the executive bathroom was on. The door was slightly ajar. I heard a low sound, not voices but breath, heavy, rhythmic, and then a voice. Familiar. "You know you shouldn't be doing this here." Jeremy, followed by a soft laugh. Male, not his. I backed away before they saw me. My heart thudded in my throat. This wasn't just a secret. This was reckless, dangerous. The next morning, Jeremy called me into his office. He closed the door behind me, slower than usual. "I want to ask you something," he said, his tone casual, but his jaw tight. "You've been working with me a long time. You know how I value discretion, loyalty." I nodded slowly. He looked me dead in the eyes. "Have you seen or heard anything unusual lately?" I felt the sweat forming at the base of my neck. Was this a test? Did he know I was there? Was he going to fire me? Or worse, was he afraid I might talk? "I haven't seen anything I wasn't supposed to," I replied carefully. "If that's what you're asking." He held my gaze for a moment too long. Then, just as quickly, the tension evaporated from his face. He smiled. "Good. That's what I hope." But as I left his office, I couldn't shake the feeling. I was in deeper than I realized. And Jeremy knew it. After that conversation with Jeremy, something shifted. He began watching me. Not obviously, not like a threat, but in this unnervingly quiet, calculating way. He'd pass my desk and linger. He'd ask about tasks I didn't even know were on his radar. He started replying to my Slack messages within seconds, like he had nothing else to do, like I was his new focus. At first, I thought it was paranoia. Then I got an email from an anonymous account. No subject line, no message, just an attachment. I knew I shouldn't have opened it, but I did. It was a still frame from the office security feed, timestamped from the night I'd seen him in the bathroom. You could see me in the hallway, too close to the door. You could see me turning away. Someone had been watching me, watching them. I felt cold all over. The next few days, Jeremy acted like nothing had happened. But I didn't. I was unraveling inside. Because this wasn't just a secret anymore. It was a game, and I was now a piece on the board. That weekend, I did something I never thought I'd do. I looked up Evan. It didn't take long. A few social media breadcrumbs and one tag photo later, I had him. Ivan Jiwareng, yoga instructor. Lives in Midtown. Too many shirtless pics. Too many captions like, just be honest with yourself, blue heart. I found his work profile and booked a private class under a fake name. When I showed up, I told him I was a freelance writer doing a piece on successful influencers in wellness spaces. He bought it instantly. Loved the attention. Over the course of an hour, he dropped a few bombs without even realizing it. I used to date someone super high profile, he said casually while helping me stretch. He's still kind of obsessed with me, honestly. Can't let go. Says he's married to the job. He winked. And the wife? I asked. He just smiled. Let's say she's more into appearances than intimacy. That was it. Confirmation. Jeremy wasn't just sneaking around. He was in love. Or something like it. And Evan was a loose cannon, which gave me an idea. I don't know what made me do it. Maybe it was fear, maybe curiosity, maybe something darker. But I emailed Jeremy from an anonymous burner account. Subject line, how much is your silence worth? Body, I know about Evan. I know about the bathroom. I know everything. Let's talk. One wrong move, and your board of directors gets the footage. I didn't expect him to reply so fast. But he did. How much is your silence worth? You think I don't know who you are? Goo. You got one chance to walk away. Do it. Now. Now it wasn't a game. It was war. And Jeremy was a man with more to lose than I ever imagined. The moment I got Jeremy's reply, my stomach dropped. Not because he threatened me, but because I realized something terrifying. He wasn't scared. He was prepared. The next morning at the office, Jeremy called me into his office. The tone was casual. Too casual. Like nothing had ever happened between us. I walked in, ready to play dumb. But then I saw her. His wife. Her name was Clarissa. Blonde. Impeccably dressed. Expensive jewelry. Noismite. She sat on the edge of Jeremy's desk like she owned it. And maybe she did. Have a seat, Jeremy said smoothly. Clarissa folded her arms. We just have a few questions. My throat tightened. He said. We've been reviewing some internal security concerns, Jeremy continued. It seems you've accessed footage from restricted areas. Clarissa leaned in. You do know that's a federal offense, right? What? I stammered. I didn't access anything. It must have. Someone sent me. Save it, Clarissa said flatly. We know what you saw, and we know what you think you can do with it. That's when Jeremy got up and locked the door behind him. That click might as well have been a gunshot. You think you know what's going on? He asked. You don't know shit. I'm not trying to blackmail, I said, breath catching. I thought that we were hiding something. Clarissa cut in. Oh, sweetheart, you don't get to decide what's worth hiding. She slid a folder across the table. I opened it. Inside were photos of me. Walking home. At the grocery store. Sitting in my car. They've been watching me. This is what happens when you get too curious, Jeremy said quietly. But here's the twist. You're useful. Resourceful. Observant. That's rare. Clarissa nodded. We have a proposal. And then they offered me a job. Not the one I already had. Not middle management. Not analytics. Something else. Something off the books. Something that involved cleaning up messes. Corporate intelligence, they called it. Infiltrate. Report. Neutralize threats. I didn't know whether to laugh, cry, or run. But the way Clarissa looked at me, I realized they weren't giving me a choice. Either I became part of their world, or I disappeared from mine. And as I sat there, folder of surveillance photos in my lap, I realized something even darker. Jeremy hadn't fallen into an affair with Evan. It was all part of the plan. A setup, a trap, a test. And I just walked into the middle of it. I didn't sleep the night after the meeting with Jeremy and Clarissa. My thoughts raced in every direction, and no matter how I tried to reason it, one thing was clear. They were running something dark, and now I was in it. The next day, I showed up at work like nothing happened. New suit, straight face. Inside, I was dying. Clarissa had given me a burner phone and told me to wait for further instructions. The first message came that evening. A name, a photo, an address. Evan. I stared at the screen, my blood running cold. Was I supposed to follow him? Report him? Hurt him? Or worse? Jeremy and Clarissa didn't say. I drove to the address anyway. I told myself I just wanted to see him. Maybe warn him. Maybe understand. He lived in a sleek condo downtown. I parked across the street and waited like some amateur spy. But before I could overthink it, the front door opened. It was Evan, and he wasn't alone. He was with Jeremy, laughing, arms touching. Jeremy was still in his work clothes. Evan wore gym shorts. They looked happy, not guilty, not caught, not afraid. They walked to a car together. A Porsche. I followed. They drove to a private garage beneath a skyscraper. I parked 2 blocks away and sprinted through side streets until I found a place to hide. From the shadows, I watched them enter a backdoor lobby. No security, just a key card. Jeremy swiped it. They went in. I slipped through before the door shut. The elevator required a code, which Evan casually typed in. The penthouse lit up. They were living together. I waited, took the stairs 5 flights. Slow, quiet. My heart thundered. I stopped outside the penthouse hallway and listened. Voices, laughter, and then something else. Clarissa's voice. I peeked through the frosted glass wall at the end of the corridor. Inside, a round table. Clarissa, Jeremy, Evan, a man I didn't know in a suit. They were passing folders around, talking numbers, cities, operations, and then my name. She's clever, Clarissa said. Not clever enough, Jeremy replied. Evan, so we're done with her? That was it. I was a tool, a test, a pawn. They knew I'd dig. They wanted me to. They lured me in, gave me a false sense of power, and now they were going to bury me. But what they didn't know is that I had recorded everything. Every conversation, every photo, every threat, even this one. I backed away, heart pounding, and slipped out the stairwell unnoticed. I drove straight to a journalist I knew from college, one who'd always wanted a story that would make her career. I handed her the phone, the burner, the photos, the names. I have more, I told her, but start with this. 3 days later, everything burned. The company launched an investigation. Evan disappeared. Jeremy resigned. Clarissa's name trended on social media linked to misconduct and classified files. They never traced it back to me. I left town. New name, new state. I teach coding at a community college now. Nothing flashy, nothing dangerous. But every once in a while, when a stranger stares a little too long, or a letter arrives with no return address, or I hear a Porsche engine in the distance, I wonder, did they really lose? Or are they just waiting for me to relax?